Hi, welcome to episode 3 of the More Than Just a Website podcast. I'm Paul, and this is Ed, and we're from
Andy.
Ready Site. Today, we're talking about something that affects a huge number of small businesses out there, and most of them don't even realize it. If you had a website built 3, 4, 5 years ago and you haven't really touched it since, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about how the web has changed, what an older site might actually be costing your business, and how you know when it's time to do something about it. As always, this is just two mates having a chat, sharing what we are seeing on the ground, and just to help you out making better decisions about your website and your business. So let's get into it, Ed.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, Paul, what do you reckon? Maybe let's start with some context. How much has actually changed, do you think, in your opinion, in the world of websites, probably in the last 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, well, that's a big question. A
Straight off
lot,
the bat.
a lot is the answer. A lot has happened, and probably more than what people realize. And because I mean, we in our last podcast we talked about AI and how that is changing the way that people interact with information or data now. Um, so it's essentially like I guess over the last 5 years, we've seen people's behavior change in the way that they search for information, how they decide what to look for and how to vet that. And if they're looking for a product, then they're going to be looking at all sorts of different metrics and stuff like that to make that decision of whether they're going to buy that product from you or somebody else, or same for a service. I mean, I guess mobile is the is just like that's I guess the last 5 years nothing really has changed much about mobile in the
Yeah.
sense like because I think 5 years ago mobile was still like was dominant then too, like it was still pretty important, um, but it's I guess a lot more now.
Yeah.
There's more and more people are using devices, and we can see that in the data that people coming to the websites and using websites on their mobile as opposed to desktop and tablet. But we don't discount the fact that people still do use desktop and tablet. So,
Mm.
yeah, essentially the thing is the website's got to look good on, and work, function well on all
Both.
devices. So
And that's
that
probably a thing
hasn't changed.
too. Yeah, because everyone talks about, I know in other businesses I've been in, it's like it's all our leads have come from mobile. They've done this mobile, and then it sort of the talk moved away from their desktop, but then there was still 20% of leads or of traffic coming from there. And sometimes it's just people just get in that one size, my mobile device is what, or the website and how it reacts there, but then they just didn't realize how things were loading on their main site as well. Um, I think so. It's sort of, yeah, don't neglect either.
Yeah, nice point. Nice point. So yeah, like uh yeah. So if you do have like a 5-year-old website or 4, 3-year-old, it might be mobile optimized.
Hmm.
But there's been a few other updates that Google has pushed out through the years, especially like Core Web Vitals, mobile first indexing. Um, and these things they penalize websites that are older or and
Hmm.
slower. So if you're not hitting those Core Web Vitals metrics that Google says you need to sort of be in those parameters, like the site has to load within a specific amount of seconds. There shouldn't be any um, there's stuff like cumulative layout shifting. So if anything's like loading and then it shifts, like it
Yeah.
shifts on the screen, then it penalizes that. And there's time to first byte, which is the server response time. So if that's slow, then again you're going to get penalized. Your site's going to yeah. It's all part of like making a a more, faster, cleaner sort of experience for the end user. And
And I
it's
think
all
also,
good.
yes, it has
It's all a
that.
good thing.
And I think also around that being penalized, you also think, okay, that comes from your the indexing and how Google read the site or how those sort of what's being crawled on the site, but also from the customer perspective or the user's perspective, it's that if you go to a site and it does shift, it's like, oh, is it dodgy? Like
Yeah.
you get that instant, oh,
Shifty.
that's a bit random. What's happening there? Is someone,
Looks
you know,
shifty, doesn't it? Like a shifty
it's
salesman.
like, has it been hacked or something? I don't know. Like, or is someone actually watching what I'm doing? Or I don't know. It's just that there's a trust piece there, I think. It's sort of,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whether it's a subconscious thing, and I think it's always happens if you go to an old site, I'm like, is the business still around?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And it's sort of and especially now with, so, you're buying things online as well, obviously, but I'd sort of, do I want to, like, is it safe to give my credit card over on a site that looks old or just doesn't,
Mm.
it gives
Yeah.
off the wrong feeling as well. And that could be if it takes forever something to load or, um, and I think in the last chat as well, last episode, and I think probably in the first episode as well, I think it comes back to that thing of you don't want to give customers a reason to say no
Mm.
and or
Correct.
to go to a competitor or to leave your ecosystem.
That's right.
And it works for many things with customer service and how quickly you respond, but the website and how it looks and how it feels and how it works is probably one of the biggest ones that if it doesn't load and it comes up with an error, I'll go, okay, that business doesn't work. I'll go somewhere else. Like, so that's probably the biggest thing too. If you do have an old site or a website, the biggest change, you want to make sure it looks modern and that
Yeah.
your first impression sets the tone for everything that follows. So you might have a great customer service, but if that first window, and I think in the last episode you talked about your website is a salesperson that works 24/7. And so if that salesperson's having the night off, or down, or very slow, or is
Got a
half
virus.
asleep and doesn't load the image, or is, outdated in old clothes from the 1900s, someone
Yeah,
might
yeah.
go, all right, I'm just going to walk away.
Yeah, yeah, true. Yes. Yeah, I actually was looking for a particular service recently and I went to the website and it's like a 20, it's like I think 2021 theme for WordPress. So it's
Yeah.
like just the default WordPress site. And I did, yeah, and it was just like all these like menu links and stuff across the navigation. The whole navigation was just like full of just these links and stuff. And there was all these drop downs, and I'm looking for like, how do I contact this business? So I entered the contact page and I found like, a form and a phone number um and the address and stuff. But I was like, I and then I was like looking for the about page. I went and looked at the about page, and it's just all like it was all just words. Like the whole screen was just words. Like I had a lot of good information. I read through it. And I found out, that the person who runs it was a clinic, and it was like this doctor who I've since found out has a very good reputation. Like she's got a very good reputation in her specialty, and she's had like 30 years experience in her specialty. But I couldn't see a photo of her. Like
Mm.
it was all just words, right? So and I'm
Yeah.
like, it was like an old site, like an old, I mean, it all like it loaded fast and it did all this, um, all that was fine, but it was like, it's kind of like almost like it was like going to like having a meeting a salesperson, and all they did was just talk to you, like just like blah 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 blah. Blah. We do this, we do that, blah blah blah. We've got 30 years experience, blah 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 blah. And you're like, whoa, hang on a sec, like just like, you know. who are you? Like,
Yeah,
it's
100%.
like you. So it was kind of like that experience, and then I was like, well, and I was looking for like a consultation thing, and the only consultation that I could have was like a paid consultation.
Yeah.
So they were asking me to pay for something, but I was like, I don't even know what this person looks like. I don't even know what the clinic looks like. I don't know because there's no images on the site. It's all just
Hmm.
text, right? And so I'm just like, there's product pictures. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no product pitch. They were just default
Yeah.
pictures. They didn't even match the product. And I'm like, well, clearly I'm not going to be dealing with this business. And then I went and looked at another one, and I found another website that wasn't that great either, but it was like they had videos, they had like pictures of the person, they had like all this history and all this stuff, and it was all imagery. Like it was like I could see the
Yeah.
person that I was going to speak to, and I could even watch the person because they had videos, and I was like, and they had clear communication. It was like very very clear call to actions, and I was like, well, this site's doing so much better than the other one. So I'll ring, and then I rang that one, and I had a chat, and I was like, yeah, I went to this other site, and like I had no idea who they are, and the other lady's like, yeah, I know her. She's got like a really good reputation. Like she's really good at what she does, and it was a shame because I was like, I wanted to like pursue this particular person, on the other website, but I had no idea who they were,
Yeah.
right? So they had no like their trust factors and stuff were, I don't even think they had reviews or testimonials or anything. I couldn't find. It was just information. It was information overload.
Hmm.
They had a lot of good information, but it was overload, and all I was wanting to see is who they look like, where they were,
Yeah.
and how can I contact them, and but the thing is the first thing, like who are they, like that wasn't ticked off, so the other two were just like gone. Like I just didn't consider the other two, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking like how many people would have come to her site and who were interested in that and then didn't pursue it because she didn't tick off those trust factors. I reckon a
Yeah.
lot. I reckon she would be losing out on a lot of business
I
just
think we've got
purely from
a
the website. So
Yeah, 100%. And we've got an article on readysite.com on our blog as well, about, say, the five things your website might be getting wrong. And it is that thing of, doesn't explain what you do. Like, it, you might have plenty of content, but there's no clear next step.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We've talked about your site loading, and being on, proper on mobile, but then the last one is like not showing why someone should choose you. And
yes,
that's the thing. Some people think there's like a word salad and just word vomit everywhere and they
yeah,
think the more words, the better because that'll be great for my SEO. And well, it's not. Um, and yeah, it's just people neglect that. And they also don't go to their website, think like a customer as well. And sometimes you
yeah,
get in that
true.
prism of, yeah, you're just in that mindset of this looks good. This I want to say everything about my business because that's what needs to be on there. But are you actually answering the questions? We talked about in the last episode as well of you know how the difference now between people search on Google and then through AI search, and those sort of things. It's trying to answer questions and are you answering a question, providing a solution or an answer to those questions that someone would naturally ask.
Mm,
So it's always, make sure that you are going to your website to really read as if you're a customer and going, well, what's my next step? And I think there's also a thing that only happened recently. I was looking at the last couple of days. It's almost like your experience where there was just too much stuff
yeah,
compared to I went to a site that had no information. It had really nice pictures and it was fancy and things were moving across the screen and everything, but just, and it may have been built a while ago, I don't know, or it could have been modern, but I couldn't find any information that I needed as
Yeah,
well, and from the complete other one. And it was for an architectural firm, but it was sort of, yeah,
right.
okay, but who are you? Who's the principal? What are the team? Like,
Yeah,
who, when I call, who am I going to contact type of thing? So, which I
yeah.
found.
That is so prevalent on a lot of sites that I just yeah, you go to the about page and you don't you don't see any. I see that on other developer
Yeah,
websites. You know, I'll go check out the competition, and I'll just be like, well, who's behind this business? Like,
yeah,
there's no images. It's just like it's got an about page and it talks about what we do and who we are and stuff. But there's no visual representation. They might have like just a stock photo of people sitting at a desk, but you don't know if that's actually the team or if it's just a stock photo.
yeah.
And so you're like, well, who's the people behind this business? And
Or it's like
I-
you go to
I've
our
come up
site,
a, I've
and
come
then
up
you
a
see the
little,
names, and then you go to LinkedIn, you see the same, like our same face, or but in different photo. Like it's still. And then you see this. There's that authenticity and trust, and I think
correct,
that's
yeah,
a common theme that we've had across the last two episodes as well. Is that as a business owner, you need to create trust. Once you have trust with a client or a potential client, it just makes the sell a lot easier, because
yeah,
you have that connection with them.
exactly. Um, yeah, people deal with people, right? So it's yeah, yeah. I've had clients that they're very yeah, like they'll be like they're very hesitant in giving me an image of themselves, because they're just like, oh, I don't look good or whatever like that. And I'm like, well, but it doesn't matter what you think about what you look like. It just matters whether there is a face on the website.
Yeah,
Um, it's really, really hard sometimes to get, team photos and all this sort of stuff.
yeah.
Um, and that, a lot of sort of bigger organizations are like, well, we have to organize a photographer and get, proper photos. And I'm like, just get a blank wall and just get your staff to stand up against and use an iPhone. Like, it doesn't need to be rocket science. You can,
You just need to do it. Like I think the hardest thing I did was
yeah, just do it.
filming my first video for TikTok and
Right.
going
Yep.
like I was probably just here's a static image of me. Yep, okay, cool. I put that on the site. But to actually film first video, once you get that fear out of the way and just put it out there. Um,
Yeah.
it's sort of, and then people start commenting, and there were some good comments and bad comments. But then you realize some people commenting on TikTok are interesting. Um, that,
It's all
you know,
feedback. It's all feedback.
yeah. Well, exactly. It means they watched it. I think that's the
Yeah.
main
Yeah.
thing. You never know. They might need a website.
They just say thank
Um,
you for the comment. If you're looking for a website, check us out.
yeah, exactly. I could build you a website that you can put all your best comments on.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Type of thing. But yeah, it's sort of just get out and do it. Don't be scared. I think that's fine. So how, I don't know, if we get back to our topic of conversation today, talk about like how you know your website the problem. What are some of the signs, for the people listening or watching, that are practical or real world signs that a business website is overdue for a refresh?
I guess one big sign is that if you go to your own website as a business owner, are you are you going to be proud to share it with other people? Are you going to be proud, or are
Yeah.
you going to be like, oh yeah, this thing looks really old, and oh, it's got some old photos on there, and all the information's wrong, and like it just looks, or maybe the images are not real, they're just stock photos, or they're just like older fonts, and um, yeah, it's essentially it's like that sort of go have a look at your own website and just check it out and go, what do I yeah, I think that's one of the things that you recommend to people, Ed. So yeah.
Also, another
Another
one is a lot of people go, I'll tell you, if it's slow on mobile, don't blame your Wi-Fi connection or go, oh, Telstra sucks in this area.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It might actually be your website that's the issue,
True.
not.
That's a good point. Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
remember going to a website that, and I was like, oh, it's my phone. I get such crappy reception here. Then I went to some other person's website and it loaded really quickly. I'm like, actually, it's not my phone. This is the problem this time.
Yeah. So yeah, all very good points there. Yes. So other things, other signs, like there's no, clear communication about what they do or clear, like clear call to actions, like just call now, book here. The next step, what do you want people to do? As if you are lacking that on your website, then yes, people are going to because people need direction, right? So, it's like if they come into your website and you've just got all this stuff everywhere and um, you need to give them the next step. Like it's like, yeah, book now, call us, get a quote, something like that, whatever's relevant to your business. So it's so if you don't have that, then that's a sign that, your site's probably leaking leads,
Yeah.
Another thing is that if you can't easily update it yourself, and you have to sort of, get a website developer. I mean, it depends on where you're at with that. I mean, you could edit it
Mm.
yourself, but again, we've spoken again about this in previous podcasts, but it's like you might be able to update it yourself, and you might have the ease to do that, but the question is, should you be spending that time doing that, or should just, get people to outsource that to somebody else? But if you got a site where you're really locked into having to rely on a developer to update your site, like it's not easily updatable, then that's a bit of a red flag as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So you should be able to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But then again, you probably shouldn't because you should outsource that if you're, for your day-to-day stuff, like, you need to be doing what you do best. But yeah, if you have to call your website developer because you
Or
can't
to change
access
the
it,
text or just to,
or
simple things
even
as well.
or even one of your team members can't access it,
Yeah.
then, you that's a red flag. So yeah.
Mm.
And of course, if you don't show up in search, Google search. Simple thing is just to do a simple do a search for your business on Google and see if you can find yourself. And put your name, put your business name and your suburb, and see if you show up in the search. You should come up because it's your business name. Business names should trigger the
Yeah.
search index. But if you're not showing
If you
up
don't
for
even
your
do
own
that, you're in
business,
trouble.
yeah, that's a massive red flag. So yeah. So,
I don't see. And then it's that, and you mentioned it before, and we both did, like, pretend to be a customer and going to the site for the first time. Look at it through that lens. And if you struggle to do that as well, then grab a friend and then just give them, tell them to find, is it easy to find what you do, where you're located, and how you get in touch.
yeah,
And, if you can't answer those three questions, or they've got to dig through multiple pages to find that, or it's not easy, then you've got a problem. And that's going back to that, avoid the reasons for someone to say no or someone to leave your website to go somewhere else to find what they need.
yeah,
And
yeah,
are sometimes business owners get too wound up with this is what we do and telling it one way.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And sort of think about your customers, and we've talked about it previously, that what are they asking? And are you actually explaining that?
That's right.
What are they looking for? What are they trying to do? And are you saying this is how you can solve their problem?
Yeah,
So always have that in the back of your mind, I think is really important.
yeah. Good point. Yeah,
And what about, so that's sort of the visual, and I'm more of a visual person. I'm not the tech person behind the scenes. But what about that? I call it the invisible stuff that I always call you going, Paul, is this working?
yeah,
Um, what are the things behind the scenes that business owners can't see that sort of does differ between, some, like if you had an older site versus something today?
Yeah, so three things come to mind. So the first one is we mentioned it before, which is Google Core's Web Vitals. So how Google is scoring your website, um, and obviously the higher the score that you get, the the better the outcome for your website, and the better it will be indexed and rank, well for keywords and stuff that you choose. But yeah, I mean, so any business owner can go to like just go to Google and just type in page speed test or Google page speed, and then you just go to the website, and then you can just put in your website URL, and it will do a scan, and it will uh, yeah, basically give you a rating out of 100, and the less the worse. So if you get like all this red stuff, and that's and all these things, all the technical things pop up like render blocking resources and image optimization and all this, all the technical stuff that's sitting behind the website, all the stuff that's slowing the site down. Then it will show all that, and yeah, if you got a lot of red, then you need to address those things because that's how Google uses all of that information to rank your website. So if you're, it's got all the page load speed, it's got all the again, the cumulative layout shifting, the time to first byte, there's a few other metrics on there, but yeah, the all of those things need to fall in within a certain parameter that Google sort of says that you need to sit within, like a specific load time speed of like less than 2 seconds or whatever, or 1 second.
Mm.
Um, and it'll give you two tabs, like one for mobile, one for desktop, so you can sort of switch between the two, so you can see which, um, and in my experience, usually the mobile is always the worst because
Mm.
you got big images like loading on a smaller device, which you don't want. So yeah, a lot of that sort of stuff can be optimized and fixed. But yeah, like on older websites, it could be a little bit trickier. But anyway, we'll get to that. But so another thing is security. So if you're running an older WordPress site or even an older software for like an unsupported software for your website, then all of that is a security, hole. And if you haven't been hacked already, then it's pretty much likely going to happen.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually noticing an increase in hacking due to just all this AI bot stuff happening. So
Yeah.
it's happening so much more often now. I manage it. We manage 60 or 70 websites, and have noticed over the we do updates on a weekly
Mm.
basis. We do all the core stuff. We have backups, everything, but we're still finding that hackers can still get in, even on a site that's pretty secure. Like we've got pretty tight security on our sites as well. But
Mm.
we're noticing on some, like they're still getting in, and it's usually the culprits are like weak username passwords and
Yeah.
or maybe a compromised user's system, so they're able to get in through a user's system, like their computer, through the website, through their login. So I'm finding that, yeah, so it might not be the website itself, but it could be these other leakage points from you know other areas. And so yeah,
Also, the other one,
security.
and I'm getting a few occasionally, you'll get that email saying someone's try to hack into your site or
Oh yeah,
something, or try
yeah,
to
yeah,
do this and make sure you go in and change your password and that sort of thing. And the natural
yeah.
instinct sometimes is to click that link and looks all official, looks like a system
Oh
generated
yeah, yeah.
email and that sort of thing. And you sort of, and it sort of goes to those ones that if you or your staff have access to the back end or to, able to edit a site, um, then make sure you can go in via your password, not via the links that come in those emails, because they just look, that's sort of the easiest way to get into someone's website now, sort of. So I think people are just more cognizant of oh, my bank account or my whatever, but
Yeah,
sometimes those ones
yeah,
about your website will actually do more damage.
yeah. It's very true. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, yeah, email phishing and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, your your hacked website could be a direct result, like, or an indirect result of a hacked computer that was
Yeah.
hacked in a completely different way. Like, somebody might have clicked on a completely different email that they got, and it was a phishing, like it was a malware phishing email. So they
Mm.
clicked on the link, and then they got taken to a site, but then that site injected code onto the computer, and then you may have inadvertently, you didn't know that there was, like, the computer had a virus or malware on it, and then you logged into your website, and then suddenly that malware then suddenly was able to access your website just purely by
Mm.
you accessing your website just innocently, not knowing that there was this piece of malware sitting in the browser or on the computer that was sniffing or looking at or extracting data from the computer and sending that information off to the hacker, and then they were able to, yeah, get in. So, so it's not just about, having a secure website. It's also about having secure systems and having, proper malware and virus protections for your computer. Because, yeah, it's kind of, unfortunately, we're getting to the age where, yeah, a lot of that is starting to really happen a lot more with AI. So
Yeah.
it's going to only get more, and it's going to ramp up even more. So um, there's a lot more AI bots visiting your website now, which could be harming or benefiting your website. But
Yeah.
and that's another thing behind the scenes that nobody sees. Unless you look at, like, the security logs or a server log, you can see all of that stuff. But yeah, a lot of business owners don't know about that, which is understandable. But yeah,
Yeah.
so security is a big thing. And if your website's hacked, then Google's going to delist it.
Mm.
It's going to just flag it. It's going to give it a blacklist, um, and that's, you don't want to get to that point, because it's a bit of
Mm.
work to get your reputation back.
Yeah.
Because it may not just affect your website, but you might have, like, a strong Google business profile as well, and
Yeah.
that can also be affected as well. They might take down your business profile because your site's hacked. Like, you know, the ramifications are quite
Oh, 100%.
quite scary. I'm not trying to be, a scaremonger here, but it's something that we all have to be aware of. Even Ed and I have to be aware of security for our own website, like
Yeah.
ReadySite, because and all our client sites, we have to be on the ball all the time.
Yeah.
So another thing that is, that could be affecting your website is, broken links,
Yeah.
again, outdated software that needs patching on your website, and also missing SSL certificates. If you don't have an SSL, then you don't get the trust. You don't get that green lock in the browser that says, this site is secure and safe to trust. So all of that stuff is important.
And that's yeah, that one's massive because then you get that screen saying, yeah, this website isn't trustworthy, and then you've got to go to the advanced and yes, no, I still trust it type of thing. Once again, it's just
Yeah.
turning people away at the door. Um,
And there's no
and
excuse. Like, you have to have an
yeah,
SSL, and they're so easy to get as well.
yeah,
So it's free. There's a free Let's Encrypt, you know, which is funded by Google and a whole bunch of other big tech companies.
yeah.
So the cost of getting an SSL is very well. It's free. So it's like there's no excuse to not have one. Um, but yeah, if I ever come to a website that says, like, this website isn't safe, and I have to go to the advanced, I don't even go to the advanced.
Yeah.
I don't even go that far. I don't go to the website. I just leave, I go somewhere else. So a lot of
And
a
that's
lot of other
probably
people would be doing that too.
Yeah, and you mentioned cost, like, if an outdated website is will cost you business, and even if you're, a business owner that can't see it, um, if it's a representation of your business, it's 5 years out of date, it's telling something of how you operate and how, is your thinking a bit old, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Every visitor who lands and leaves immediately is lost opportunity. I mentioned that before. Like, you want to avoid the things of, saying no. Like, every customer is gold or a potential customer is gold. So if you're losing a few a week, that can add up to, a few even more a month and a lot over the year, and that's a lot of revenue. And everyone's talking about the cost of living crisis and interest rates rising and fuel and this sort of thing. It's You don't want to lose a potential customer. Um,
Yeah, that's true. And that generally gets in the way sometimes of like, oh, it's going to cost me money to update my website. And, um, but yeah, what's the real costs really? So,
and if you're doing, your social posts or your business profile or word of mouth, and so you have one representation of your business on this side, and then on the other side, it's completely stuck. It's that one that's just the word salad that you said that you went to, where there's just so much information. It's like, well, now I'm confused. You say you're one thing, and now you're not portraying yourself as that, and you lose that trust factor as well. And some of the business owners I talk about or talk to, they have really tight professional operations, but their website doesn't reflect that, and it's just the simplest thing you can do, and it doesn't have to cost you a lot.
and sometimes they're running ads, Google ads to
Yeah.
their websites. And so they think, oh, yeah, we're running ads and we're getting traffic to the site. And the traffic might look good, the metrics, but your, your acquisition cost of like, yeah, you might
Mm.
get people there, but you're not converting them because your website's failing. It's failing at its core. You're sending it to you're sending it to an old website. So
Yeah.
you think, oh yeah, I'm spending money on ads, so therefore I must, I should get more leads, right? Because I'm doing the ads thing. But you gotta look at that data and you gotta say, well, okay, yeah, I'm spending $2,000 a month or whatever on ads or whatever. Um, but I'm not getting any leads. Like, no, everyone's leaving the website. So, and then
I think
and then
it's,
you got to look at the site and go like, oh yeah, maybe it's people are leaving because it's horrible.
yeah, and I think it's sort of that's that. And it's a hard conversation that both of us have had. We did it recently with a business owner that had spent quite a lot of money, um, on a website and was quite a substantial figure a few years ago. And now, we really have to tell them that they've got to do it. You know, they need a new site. It's it's not working for them. They're actually losing money. And luckily, we've got solutions that were a fraction of what they were doing that actually works for them.
Yeah.
But it's that. And I remember you were talking to them about what their competitors look like online and how, if their customers or potential customers going to their competition and how quickly they could get a sale from when they arrived. Um,
Mm.
and, from that technical side of things that people don't see sometimes as well. And that's sort of some of the conversations that we can have or we do have with clients that, for us, we want to help your business. And that's our focus is helping your business. That's why we call this podcast, it's more than just a website.
Mm.
And because if you don't have that, if you can't build that trust with your customers, you might have a sexy looking website, but if it doesn't say anything or it doesn't do anything, I think, that's what we pride ourselves on is we want to see your business grow and work with you on that,
Mm.
rather than it just being here's a really cool website. Doesn't that look pretty? I'm proud to show people. But
Yeah. Yeah.
if we want to show you, a website that works, and it doesn't turn people off and helps you with that across the way, and that what's happening behind the business as well, I think is really important.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so if you're a business owner and you know, you know that you need a new website, but you're scared about the costs and all that sort of stuff, then, give us a call, or, get onto a free consult and we can have a chat to you about the cost. But what you really need to sort of reframe in your mind is thinking, well, it's not about the money that you're going to spend on the new site. Um, it's how much money are you losing,
Hmm.
every minute, potentially every minute that your old site is up and running. Like how many customers could you be? How much money are you losing? It's not about
Yeah.
like how much money do I need to spend on a new website, but it's like, heck, I could be losing tens of thousands of dollars, depending on what you do. But like it's that kind of critically. So just in your mind, just reframe it to that. It's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe I
I
need
think
to,
also,
yeah, you need to invest, right?
yeah,
To make something better so
I was
that
thinking about it when you were talking before as well, and love to just go off on a tangent, but sort of, when people think of, and we've been talking about, you're talking about the core web vitals and the load speeds and things like that, like, and how it looks, and,
all that
all of
bit
those,
boring.
like the technical side of things. It's sort of to pare it back. It's like, imagine you got a retail store and you're in a Westfield shopping center and the doors are open, but the lights are off. You've got a couple of boxes. As soon as someone walks in, you've got, some stuff on the floor, some shards of glass or something. There's a virus. But it's before you get to the cashier or before you walk in to see a product, it's those obstacles. It's it's something that someone have to jump over. Is it inviting? No. Is it open? Oh, the lights are off. Then when
Yeah,
someone
the
actually
lights
does
off.
get in there, and then someone does walk in, yeah, they can see stuff, but they're hidden behind a box, or there's crap all over the floor that someone has to jump over to get to the next bit. That's what some of this technical stuff is that's on your website that's slowing down speeds and stuff. That it's like having that, but more, I'm a visual person,
Yeah,
explaining
like
it.
a physical, yeah. Yeah, it's a good analogy, I guess.
So when you know, with all your years of experience and stuff, um, and someone comes to you going, look, I've got an old site. What should I do? How do you figure out whether they need to like a full rebuild? What's your process of full rebuild versus say just a refresh?
Yeah, so with a like yeah, so we would look at it like, yeah, we'd sort of put it under a banner of a refresh or a rebuild. So under a refresh banner, we would, look at the structure, and if it's if it's got a good structure, like if it's got good bones, like, you say you buy a rundown house, right? And then you think, oh, I'm gonna have to tear this down, but maybe, after a bit of digging, you find out actually the foundations are pretty good in this
Mm,
place. No, all we need to do is just knock out the walls or whatever and put up new walls, or put new gyprock in, and, just tidy up a few things and it should be good as new. So, that's not so that could be possible for your website. It's not a complete couldn't we don't have to just sort of go like, okay, yeah, we have to rebuild it. So we'd have to, yeah, look at it and just assess that, right? So if it's, sometimes, the software could be out of date, or, if it's WordPress, for example, then, we'd look at all the plugins and all that stuff. And then if they're like super, super old and, like we do some updates and the plugins break and kills the site, then, we got to pretty much look at maybe a rebuild at that stage, because it's like, well, again, the
mm.
structure's just not supporting it very well. So yeah, we'll just look at it and just assess it based on that. And again, if it's and then we'd sort of switch to a rebuild if we need to. And again, just look at like the platform. Could be built on some old, content
Hmm.
management system that's no longer supported.
I was going to
Loads.
mention that. Like, think of it from an operations perspective, and
Yeah,
you might have had someone in your business, or you might have taken over a business that has the site that's always been there, knows how to do it, knows the little quirks of how to use the site, but
yeah,
then
yeah,
it's hard to train a new person up on that because it's so antiquated and it can, break that sort of thing too. So you also need to consider, what's from an operations perspective, and what's going to be most beneficial for your business and your staff's time and training if they can, what's the easiest way to update things as well. That I think you
exactly. Yeah,
mentioned
and you
earlier
may,
in the podcast about the red flags, that if everything has to be made by a developer, that's a red flag on
yeah,
your
yeah.
on your site too.
I mean, like the whole site will be built by a developer, right? I mean, can't get rid of the developer
Oh, no, no, but I mean,
and
as in
plugins,
the,
but
like, if you had to change simple text changes,
that's right.
you were
That's
mentioning
right.
before, if everything had to be to do that, you'd have to go to your developer to do it. I think and you mentioned
Yeah,
that was a red flag. That's what I mean too.
true.
Like, if you don't know how to change it, there's always someone that did it and your staff can't, then I think that's sort of a sign to upgrade to a newer site as well with, um,
And yeah, and you may want uh, again for organizational um, or process, within your business, you might need to collect data or something from your customers, and so we might have to add extra functionality, like more advanced forms or something like that. And maybe your current site just can't cater for that. Like it just doesn't, it's too old for that. So yeah, we would then we'd sort of move you more closer towards a rebuild.
hmm,
But and that's great. Sometimes we just tear the thing down and rebuild. And we look at the current. We also look at what's working because we don't just because some of your pages on your website might be getting indexed and getting traffic, right? So we don't want to lose that. So we make sure we retain that.
yeah,
And so it's all good. So yeah. But yeah, like if your site's 4 to 5 years old, um, then you're probably due for either a refresh or a rebuild. So
yeah.
um, but yeah, just give us a just jump on our free consult and have a chat, and we can assess where you're at and what we think is best. And
Yeah. I think that's how the process starts, that we, you know, want to understand what your business is, a bit about your business, what you want
yeah,
the site to actually do.
yeah,
And then, we've got a number of templates that you can choose from. We integrate your branding. We can update and rewrite content. We've got a list of services as well. So obviously we, pride ourselves that this is the set price of the website. If you just want a one page or, a basic site or a bit more, but you can sort of see up front what it is. And then there's obviously add-on services that we have that, can everything under the sun about how deep and how intense you want to get, or how complicated, that sort of thing. We can add-ons, and then if it's just completely off scope for what we provide, so we can really look at a custom site depending on the needs that you have as well. So I think the first thing for us is really that, like you mentioned, that free call. We just want to know about you, want to know about your business, and the businesses that we work with, and advise you, and if a new website is, or a website refresh is actually needed. Like, there's
yeah,
no, we don't want to sell you something you don't need.
yeah,
But in 5 years' time, when you have a website that you do need, we'll be there for you. But yeah, I think
exactly.
that's sort of part of the thing we pride on, and um, look at it from your side of being commercial, and what's the site supposed to do, and not just look good, but actually turn your visitors into inquiry and into business. I think so.
Yeah, and that's something that Ed's really good at. So, you might think you might have a good website, and it might be a good site, right? It might be a relatively new site, but you might be just missing a few things. And Ed's really good at sort of looking at a site and going, okay, yeah, you've done this really well, done this really well, done this really well. But there's just this one thing that you should probably add, and that will probably just tip it over the line and make it just even better. So he's good at really spotting those things that you may not realize that you're missing on your site, which could be the difference between somebody, going to the next step with you, and booking in a call or whatever, whatever you do for your call to action on your website. So, and sometimes Ed will just tell you what you're missing in that free consult. So again, you haven't even spent any money at this point, right?
Yeah.
At all, but then you're getting all this valuable information like that you can just go and apply. You just ring up your developer and just say, "Hey, can you just do this?"
Yeah.
I mean, there's no,
And that's
there's
it. And that
no,
comes back to even why we start this podcast. It's like we want to help people. I think
yeah,
our mission, like more small businesses and businesses that succeed, the better it is. Like
exactly.
just, so I think that's our, social license that we sort of want to help small businesses. So that's the first thing. And we'll build that bond, that relationship with you that, will be your trusted advisor there, not only just for your business, but for your website. And we'll help you through that. We've been there before. We've, had multiple websites of our own, businesses we've worked for and in, and some good, some bad, some ugly. But I think that's the difference, and that's why it's more than just a website, to use the nice little catchphrase of the podcast.
See what you did there. See what you did there. Nice. Uh, all right. Well, I don't know. I think that might be a wrap up. Did you want to wrap it up, Ed?
I'll let you.
Uh, well, uh, well, that's a wrap on episode 3. Thanks, Ed. That was pretty awesome. Thanks for thanks for all your insights as well. So that was really
That was good.
yeah, I think it was a good podcast. I mean, if I was looking for a podcast to listen to, then this is the one I would want to listen to. So
Yeah.
no bias there at all. Absolutely no bias. But anyway, so if anything we've talked about today sounds familiar, if you're looking at your own website and thinking, yeah, that might be that might be us who ticked off a few things and that we shouldn't be doing. Don't stress. It's all fixable. It's affordable. You don't have to think that, you're already out of pocket, just by thinking about it. So don't stress about that. And it's even faster than what you'd expect as well. So anyway, the best place to start is to just book in a free discovery call with Ed. It's not a sales call. It's just a quick conversation, as Ed said.
Where your
Just
site's at, your business is at, what you could be doing better.
right,
How can we
yeah.
help you?
Yeah, it's just a chat about where
Yeah.
you're at, and there's no, there's no sales prep. We're not. Um, so you can either work with us or not. That's your call. But yeah, you can find us at readysite.com.au. Links will be in the description and in other places. And if you've been enjoying these podcasts, please maybe share it with somebody that you might think would benefit from listening to it, and or if you know somebody who's been putting off their website stuff, they've been saying, "Oh yeah, I know, I need to get onto my website. It could be costing me lots of money." So yeah, just share this podcast with them because I think it will help
100%.
them. And that's who we made this for. So yeah, so thanks for joining us. Thanks again, Ed. And
Thank you, Paul.